It's called The Monster Called Opportunity. I've been hiding for a little while from the monster called opportunity, because what if it doesn't eat me up? What if it doesn't have a taste for me? So today I set out to do just one scary thing, and it left me feeling quite delicious and perfectly seasoned for that monster called opportunity.
Okay, everyone, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter. I have someone joining me here who is going to help you to be a clumsy beauty, I guess, through her book. She is an observer, a mumbler, which I need to know more about, and an overthinker. She's on the podcast, and I'm excited to have JK here on the podcast. Be talking about her book, talking about her journey, and you got to go check out her Instagram because she could use a couple more followers. JK, welcome to the podcast.
Hi,
hello,
and thank you so much for having me. And it's funny. So my name is Jodie. And I've never gone by JK, but when I started this whole journey, like when I started at least my Instagram account, I wanted to be anonymous. So I went with JK, which are my initials. And so doing this whole process of going on shows and talking to people and this kind of stuff, it's funny because my followers don't even know my name. Like Jodie is nowhere on my profile. Yeah. It's nowhere on anything. And so this has been so interesting for the last few months or a couple months since the book came out to be like, oh yeah, hey guys, my name's Jodie. Just so you know.
There you go.
So anyway,
Good.
So I guess we can start there. But wait, before we get into the book, I have to ask, because I forgot to ask you before we started recording. Okay, you're doing like 45 podcasts this month, right?
Well, there's 90 total this month. Yeah.
There's 90.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
ridiculous. I know.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Congratulations. You have to be most of the way through it.
I'm almost done. Yeah, I'm almost done. I've been working on it since August, and now it's it's November. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, I'm almost through there. But now it just continues into the future, and so fun.
I mean, it's so cool. I think that this is maybe like the fourth or fifth maybe podcast that I've done, and they're so much fun. But I have thought about you as I've been doing them for the last few weeks, because I'm like, oh my gosh, how does he do that? A million? How does he do this? Oh my gosh. Well, anyway, I have thought about you for the last couple that I've done, because I'm like, holy smokes, that's like really impressive.
Well, the fact that you thought of me is great. Go back to the JK thing for a second. One of my best friends goes by JK because nobody could pronounce her last name. So she just adopted JK. So every time I see a JK, I think of her. And then when I had you coming on, I'm like, well, we're friends. So JK. So there you go. There you go. So she's listening. Hi, JK. This is yet another JK. Hi, JK. Yeah, so there you go.
Another JK. See? Yes.
So there you go.
And I'm JKK if you do all the initials. But yeah, the JK was it was to keep me anonymous. And also Jodie Kennedy wasn't available on Instagram. So yeah, it was kind of like a blend of things. At the very beginning when I first started, I didn't want anybody to know it was me, so I could have this complete safe space away from anybody I knew. And if somebody happened to stumble upon, like, I didn't have a picture of myself or anything like that, so there was really no way that you could know. And that made it comfortable for me, because in the beginning when I was, writing kind of, back then, 2 years ago, it was like a little bit, the material was a little darker. And it was a little more sad, and I was, in a rough place, which is why I started writing to begin with.
Good.
And so it was nice to post anonymously, so I could really say whatever I wanted, and that was, kind of just a lovely thing.
Excellent, awesome. Well, this is good. I'm happy to have you here. This is great. So tell us again, where are you in this big world of ours?
I am in. It's funny. In May I moved to Wisconsin from Colorado. Yeah. So I've spent the last 15 years in Colorado, and then just moved with my husband and my two dogs to Wisconsin, and we're loving it. And I grew up in Chicago, so I am used to the seasons, and I'm used to the weather, and I'm used to the green and the lush and the water. And I'm happy to be back in that, because Colorado is beautiful and lovely, but it is a bit of a desert. Yeah. So I'm loving our first 6 months here in the great state of Wisconsin.
Come on,
becoming a cheesehead.
You're a cheesehead now. There you
Well,
go.
okay. Well, I mean, we're trying to go with the flow. We're trying to get
Okay.
into the cheesehead culture
All
here.
right. Okay. Well, there you go. I love it. I don't think we have cheese. We have poutine in Canada, which is cheese, gravy, and French fries. So that's kind of one thing we have
Y-
here. That's
which is
Oh, there
delicious.
you go. So yeah, so that's one thing
Yeah.
we can be proud of. But to
Yeah.
have a whole cheese head, I love seeing the people with those carved out pieces of cheese on their head
The
of
cheese.
football. It's just so
Yes.
cool. I want one of those.
Okay, we don't have one yet. So my husband's originally from Denver. So he'll always be a Broncos fan. And I grew up in Chicago, so I guess I was kind of a Bears fan, but now we're both kind of like, well, are we Packers
What are
fans
we
now?
now?
Like, what do we do? Can we play both sides? We don't know. I don't know. I think people are very religious about it, so maybe we just don't go there and we just don't side. But yeah, we don't have our actual cheese hats yet, but we get the cheese curds at every restaurant we go
There you
to.
go.
We're doing a cheese curd tour of southern Wisconsin right now, so we have that going for it.
Sounds very fancy. Okay, so go back to your Instagram. Observer, mumbler, and overthinker. Is that really you? Like, why those three things on your Instagram?
There, I don't think there are three words that like better describe, I think, where I've been for the last couple of years. I guess a while ago. So the observer part is I know that I am less of a participator. I am more of an observer. If there's like if there's a yeah, like a card game going on at a party, or if there's a this or that, or like a board game, or whatever it is. Like I like observing. I like watching things. I'm less of a participator,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
guess. And also the it with writing, the more observing you're doing, the easier I think the process is. It's just noticing every little thing. And it also makes you a more easygoing person and like a more appreciative person, I think, is just observing and like being quiet and noticing the little beautiful things that are going on around you. Mumbler is just, I am a crazy person and I talk to myself like literally 24/7. It's funny. My husband used to not work remotely, like in the house. And now he does. And I think that he's starting even to notice, like, because he always goes, what? And I'm like, nope, I'm just talking to myself. It's constant. And it's not something that I even realized that I did fully until I have somebody else in the house with me all day.
Yeah.
Also, I am, yes, I'm a mumbler. I'm constantly talking to myself. It also helps me. I have too many things going on in my brain at one time, mostly. So if I'm talking, it helps me tease out whatever knots are in my brain. So I'm
Good.
like talking myself through the day for my mental health, I guess.
It's good.
Yeah. And I think overthinker is just it's a mixture of all those things. I think that the other two things, it's or kind of what I just said to go along with the mumbling bit is there's too much going on upstairs.
Hmm.
So yeah. And that's kind of how the poetry came out. I was overthinking things and I was dwelling on things and I was having trouble with some emotions that I was having, and because I overthink them, and so getting them out and writing them down was extremely helpful for me.
I love it.
When I first started doing this.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. So here on Living the Next Chapter, we have authors that listen to the show. They come here to look for inspiration from a fellow author, of which I am not yet. Even as the host of the show, I've never written anything. But I just love talking to authors because you guys are amazing. So for an author that's listening, their early days of writing, they're struggling through the process of being creative and sticking with it. And is it worth my time to invest in writing? I love sharing my words, but I don't know what to do with this stuff. You've gone from the process of not being an official published author to where you are today. So you had to learn something in this process that could help an author. Is there anything that comes to mind as we kind of start off the conversation that we could encourage an author that's listening and build them up to feel like they can do this and they have the skills. What do you got?
Yeah, and you do have the skills because I don't think I have the skill. I mean, I don't. I am a product of just I didn't even know I was a writer. And I don't think I fully am a writer yet. But it's all been such a wild ride. 2 years ago, when I was going through a particularly difficult time in my life, we had a terminal illness in our immediate family. I was in a super toxic work environment. And things were just kind of the pits. I needed somewhere to put all of that. And so I started writing. So I opened this Instagram account and started putting my thoughts and feelings in there. And really, it was just it's vulnerability. It's pulling out all the stops. The things for whoever's writing out there, the things that you don't think that anybody else is feeling, or that you're embarrassed about, or that you're hesitant to put out into the world. That's the stuff right there. That's the stuff that people connect with. No matter what we're all thinking, somebody else out there is thinking it too. And sure, it might give you the ick that you're having this feeling, or, you are embarrassed about it, whatever. That's the stuff that people connect with. That's the human stuff that we're all here experiencing and sharing. And so I guess, don't hide any of that. I think the people that try to be pleasing and polite and, likable, I think, well, that's great too. But in my case, specifically, it was the ick that kind of reeled people into the account. And since, my life has changed substantially in the last 2 years, and my mental health is like way better, and I'm super happy. And so the writing has changed along with that. But I think that that was the hook a little bit in the very beginning, was just being brutally honest with yourself and with others when you're sharing that stuff. And I know that can be super intimidating, but it's definitely worth it in the long haul. And I never thought anybody would find my Instagram account. I was doing it it was literally a mental health exercise for me. It was a healthy habit so that I didn't start a bunch of unhealthy habits. Mm-hmm. And I challenged myself to write down one thought or emotion that I was having at the time daily. So I had to do it every day. Wow. And I did the account so that it would keep me accountable. So that it wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this and I'm just going to put it in my notes app. I was like, no, I have to post it, because then it'll make it like I'm putting it somewhere. So I kept doing that, and gosh, I don't even know how long it was. It was months probably, but people found the account and they liked the content and they followed along, and just despite the odds, they shared it, which brought more people to the account, and the account grew. And then probably like a little over a year into having my account, which is Jodie Kennedy Writes, just so that's out there. That's my Instagram handle. So Jodie Kennedy Writes has been around for about a year and a half. Wow. No, maybe not a year. Anyway, a little bit over a year. And then I get this email from a real life publisher who, it just goes to show you never know who is following you, or who they are, or who is watching what you're writing, or who is connecting with it, and who it, you never know. So keep putting it out there, because you never know who's watching or who has seen it, who's sharing it, whatever. So I get this email, and of course, Instagram and the internet at large is just scam central. Like everything is a scam. Yeah. My phone rings 15 times a day because I'm on a 1,000 scam lists. Anyway, so I get this email from the publisher, and of course, I immediately am like, "This is a scam. Like, this is somebody trying to get like me to give them a bunch of money to like do something or
Yeah.
whatever. So I wrote back some snarky email.
Oh no.
I did. I'm horrible. I wrote back some like, oh, well, thanks a lot. Like, how much is this gonna like? Let's just, let me beat you to the punch. Like, how much is this gonna cost? Something like that. And the sweetheart, who's now my editor, he's a lovely human being, wrote back like very patiently and politely, and was just like, well, in traditional publishing, we pay you, Jodie. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm such an idiot. So anyway, it was too good to be true. It's an incredible story. It's a one in a million. I won the lottery.
Yeah.
I won the internet lottery basically by somehow getting discovered on Instagram and this is another thing for writers. If you are trying to write on Instagram, trying to catch the tail of the dragon, which is the algorithm on Instagram or social media, is not worth it. And I think, a good example of that, because I don't do reels. I don't go on there with my face really ever. I don't do like the spoken word stuff. I don't do any of that. I do stills, and they're just pictures of the writing.
Yeah.
And I just kept doing it for a long time, and then it got found. So that's a little random piece of advice. But yeah, it got some. Man, goodness gracious, somebody found it, and then all of a sudden, now I'm writing a manuscript for a poetry collection. I mean, which is wild. It still blows my mind. I still pinch myself daily. I don't. And the book got released. The book is called Clumsy Beauty of Homes for Hearing the I Love You and Everything. And it was released on October 1st, so
Okay.
It hasn't quite been 2 months yet,
Yeah.
but it's been so wild. I mean, all of this from start to now, release a couple of months ago, it's probably been maybe like a year since all this started. It was crazy, just crazy whirlwind, amazing. And now I'm on cool podcasts
Come
like
on.
this with you. And yeah, it's so much fun. It's a wild ride.
There you go.
So, but I got very lucky.
I love that you took something like social media that can be quite toxic and fake, and I find not a lot of people put a lot of social into social media. They just put it out media basically, but you're doing it differently, and you're using it as a healthy exercise to help you as a writer. If you didn't have your Instagram account, if you weren't writing and sharing your thoughts, where might you be today had you not done any of this?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know if I can go there in my brain. I have no idea. Well, first of all, I should have gotten a therapist 2 years ago when I was in such a rut in my life, and I should have made a career change way, before it got to a point where, I was that bummed out. But I was also lucky that I knew that we were making a move across the country relatively soon. So I had some time to figure that out, I think, for just the next direction I was going in. But this, things happened the way they did. So I didn't really have to, think about getting into a new crazy career move or anything like that. And I'm kind of just trying to enjoy this right now while it, while it's still happening a little bit, and using the next 3 to 6 months to just really get the word out about Clumsy Beauty and go around and travel a little bit and do some signings and stuff like that. But I totally hear you about the social media. It's vicious and it's awful, and I know most people don't end up with the extremely lucky story that I kind of lived with it, but I understand the being tempted to chase the algorithm and do what people want you to do and post, because it's tough. But as long as you, all I can say is what worked for me personally, which is just staying true to. I didn't want to be on there. I didn't want to talk on there. I didn't want to read the poetry on there. I didn't want to make reels. I didn't want to use catchy music. I didn't want to like, I'm like, no, I'm just going to write this stuff and I'm just going to do what I'm doing. And it worked. And of course, that doesn't always happen, but it also didn't make me feel icky about it. Like, I think that sometimes if you go down that road where you're not being true to yourself and your writing and your feelings and your style, then all of a sudden, if you do grow in popularity, but you're not doing something that's true to yourself, that's a whole different nightmare that you don't want to, because it's like, then you have to keep doing that.
Right.
And like, nobody wants that. So, I think just if you stay true to yourself and your content and your style, and your feelings about the whole thing, I think that that's a recipe for success, probably.
I like when we can encourage an author that even if, say, nobody buys your book, nobody follows your Instagram, but you're just disciplined and focused on writing, sharing your story. In the process of being a writer, you're going to become a better person. You're going to meet yourself. You're going to understand some of your weaknesses and your strengths, your talents. And your voice is your voice, and nobody else can write what you can write. I can't write your book. There's no way I could write your book. So the only person who's going to write Jodie's book is Jodie. And if you don't, it's not going to exist. So the fact that you have an audience that resonates with you, follows you on social media, the fact that you have your book in the world, all of this great stuff comes from just the discipline of writing. And I think in the process of writing, you're just going to grow. You're going to become something different than you were had you not been a writer. So I just love the fact that you used it as a way to find yourself and a better self in the process. So I think that's really encouraging.
Yeah, it's it amazes me every day that there are 8 billion, I think at this point, 8 billion realities happening every single day, and not a single one is the same as another. So think about that every time you get stuck when you're writing, is that like your story is different from literally everybody else's who's ever lived before.
Right.
Like, so, and while we do have a lot of the same human stuff going on, that we can relate over, and things that we share. And, when you're sharing your material, people will, recognize themselves in your writing probably. But never think that your story isn't worth telling or talking about. I mean, that's huge. And there's always the imposter syndrome. There's always like, well, why would anybody care about this? If people care about it more than ever right now, because in an increasingly divided, world and cultures that we live in, where, you're taught that everybody is, so separate and we're supposed to hate each other and whatever. And it's like, this is the time to be sharing. This is the time we need to, kind of come together and recognize that like, we're all a lot more similar than we think that we are, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Take us to Clumsy Beauty. Like, what was the idea behind writing it? You said you were reached out to by a publishing company, which is amazing. But what was it for you that said, this is going to be the book, this is my focus, and this is why the world needs Clumsy Beauty?
I guess along the same lines. Okay, so first, I guess the name, or actually both parts of the name, are poems in the book. Clumsy Beauty is one poem, and Hearing the I Love You and Everything is another poem that's in the book. And I think that my answer is going to be like horribly uninteresting, but it's going to be truthful. We wanted this to be like a very powerful, very related, not powerful, but like, positive and relatable and for everyone, for people that don't think that they like poetry, like pick up this book and you'll probably be able to relate to it a little bit. So we took the vast majority of poems that I had written from the past year that were positive, that were in line with what we wanted the book to be, because there's some darker stuff. If you scroll all the way down the very early posts on my Instagram account, there's a different tone there. Those poems were not included in Clumsy Beauty. So that'll be a different book. That'll maybe there will be another edition one day about the themes that are a little sadder and more a little on the darker side. But really, we just took the things that went along with those values that we wanted the book to have, just a positive, relatable thing. And I know that poetry is polarizing, and a lot of people. I don't even really read poetry. Let's be real. But a lot of people are just like, well, I wouldn't pick up a book of poetry and whatever. And this is kind of like like a very nice, like kind of yellow brick road it's just an easy path into maybe discovering that you actually do like poetry. And we're also, since I've been on Instagram, I've noticed that we're in this kind of cool renaissance of relatable poetry writers right now. There's a ton of folks out there, that I follow or that I've seen on Instagram or whatever that is, maybe it's not as traditional. It's just way more everyday writing for the period of time that we're in, for the culture that we're in. And yeah, there's something out there for you. So give poetry a shot for sure. Even if it's not Clumsy Beauty, like that, go, there's something out there for you that will make you feel a way. And I think to me, that's what poetry is. It's really anything that makes you feel something in a short form. You can read a novel and you can feel something for the 20 hours it takes you to read a novel. But poetry just gets you there faster.
Yeah. Okay.
in my opinion.
So Jodie, imagine I'm here. I have your book in my hands. I just got it today. It's arrived. I'm excited. I haven't read anything yet, but I'm ready to open it. What's your love letter to a reader? It's just you and them, right? You see them with your book in their hands, and before they open this cover for the first time, what's your message? What do you want them to know?
That I love you.
Aw.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding you. That's really, there's a poem in there that, I'm not even sure what I called it, but, it's about it. The first line is, I think I say I love you too much. And that is really this book is, it is a love letter. It's not, I'm not saying a love letter, like this is a love letter to everybody, that, sometimes when you reach for a book and you go curl up somewhere to read a book and spend that time with yourself, like maybe you're going through something or maybe you need to escape or something like that. And this book is something you can do that with, but also it's I hear you, I see you, I have felt that before. You are not alone. And I love you. And I hope that people feel that, when they feel seen and that they feel loved when they read the material. That would be the ultimate thing that I would love for people to feel when they read the book.
Okay, so as someone buying the book and I want to gift it to somebody, is there somebody that this would be a great book for? You did say everyone, but there's probably somebody that would really benefit from this book in my circle of friends and community and family. As I'm listening to this podcast, I'm thinking, I'm thinking of a gift for a friend. How do I know this is the right book for them? Is there anything you can give us?
I think, everybody knows their friends and they know what they, would and wouldn't like. I know that my people that I'm close to, that have bought the book and then have turned around and bought it for friends. It's not only like a book club book. It's a kind of everyday, like stocking stuffer type thing. It's if you're going through any kind of transition, it's for somebody who is starting a new job or going off to school or is, maybe is having a tough time or something like that. I have one friend that's giving it to all their kids' teachers, which I thought was like a very cool,
Nice.
Ideas. And teachers, man, shout out to teachers. That can be a tough, job to have sometimes. And it's, I don't know, just to have some little comforting nuggets of poetry at the end of a day is a cool thing to give somebody.
Looking through your website as well. It's beautiful, by the way. I love the cover of the book. I'm also seeing some other things that you have on your website as far as a shop where you can buy things around the book and around what you do as a writer. Can you tell us a little bit more about that as well?
Yeah. So the website is just like my handle. It's jkkennedywrites.com. And that actually started off with greeting cards. So I had some greeting cards made that they're made from recycled material. They are recyclable and they're cheap. I feel like I can't go to the grocery store and get a card anymore with less than like $10.
Right. I know.
So I was like, I need to make something that I would want to have it, and then you buy it and it doesn't even say what you want it to say. So I made cards that I would want to receive or want to give somebody that are, more sustainably produced. And then, yes, there is a bonfire shop. My publicist who I'm working with right now, who is like wonderful and like very talented, set up a bonfire shop for me. So there are, there's organic, cotton tote bags, and there's hoodies, and there's mugs and things like on there that have poems on them, and some little snippets from the poetry. So so that's all linked on the website. And then there is, if you're not on Instagram for some reason, which, for instance, my mother is not on Instagram.
Come on, Mom.
And so she has to go to my website, JK Kennedy Writes. At the very bottom, there's a little like a teaser screen of my Instagram down there. So anyway, you can find links to buy the book there. You can find those also on my Instagram. And I'm planning on making some more stuff. It's just kind of evolving as we go. And just trying to start a little shop so that you can share nice things with people.
I just wanted to shout it out because I'm looking at your website. Again, the website's beautiful. And just to be able to send people there and go, wait, what's this button? What does this do? Wow, they're gorgeous, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Oh, that makes me so happy. I had nothing to do with it. I am, when it comes to technology, I does not compute with me. So I have a lot of help with folks making anything with buttons. I don't, pages and pens and papers I can do, but buttons, and I don't agree with each other. But thank you for that. I'm ecstatic that you would have that opinion of it.
Yeah.
Go give it a visit if you're listening and want to see more stuff. Head over there.
Tell us about the cover of the book. Where did this come from? How did this happen? It's beautiful. Come on.
Okay, so that is my favorite story about.
Oh, come on. Okay.
So it's not that exciting. It's like in a romantic sense, it's my favorite story about the book. It's still, I was having total imposter syndrome the entire time writing the manuscript, sending, drafts back and forth with the publisher, this and that, whatever. And still there was part of me that was just like, I still think this is some kind of, elaborate practical joke, and somebody's just trying to steal my identity. And I don't know what's going on. Like, I still was totally paranoid about this. And then all of a sudden they were like, well, we need to talk about the cover. And I was like, like I get to have a say in designing the cover, like very, very excited. So they sent me a list of artists that they had worked with before, or hadn't, just people that they had found. And I got to, her name is Jessica Benhar. I think I might be butchering that name, and I'm sorry, Jessica, if you ever hear this. She's an extremely talented artist. She has an Instagram account. I'm sorry that I keep looking over here. It's
gorgeous,
just like so beautiful. Yeah. So like it's unbelievable. So she is an amazing artist on Instagram. I chose to work with her, and then they had me send a bunch of things that I liked, themes that I to have, and then they had me send them, like I sent them pictures of art from like around my house, just so that it would be my style kind of. And I'm a Lord of the Rings fan. And I have some Ent art. If you're a listener and you don't know what Ents are, they're tree people. Anyway, I had that, and then I don't know how long it was, probably a few weeks. Jessica sent back a draft of the cover, and it's an Ent. It's a tree people.
Yeah, of course it is.
So it was so excited. It just, the colors and the crows and the flowers. It's just, it couldn't be. Sobbed like uncontrollably when I got the final version of it. It's just it's super special, and yeah. So that is the story behind behind the cover, which is like incredibly people. It's funny. Since it's been out for a couple months, and pictures of it have made its way around the internet from my publisher, or from myself, or publisher, or whatever. And so many of the comments are like, would buy this book just for the cover. And I'm like, I totally agree with you. I totally agree. It could be blank inside. I would buy it just for the cover. It's so beautiful. And so I have Jessica Benhar to thank for that.
Excellent.
So.
Jessica, yeah, you should be listening to this. So thank you for a beautiful cover. I'm going to completely put you on the spot. All right. Now, I hope we're still friends. I hope we're still friends. Okay. Because I think you're great to talk to. I love the sound of a book read to me by the author for one reason.
Oh, no.
Because you're going to read it the way you wrote it. I'm reading it the way I read it. So I'm filtering it through me, my Dave head, right? But when I hear something written from the author in the voice of the author, it is a totally different experience. And it makes me connect with the book even more because it's you. So would you read just a small passage of any part of the book? I'm open to anything, but I just want to hear a little bit of the book from the author, and I'm giving you time to find a spot while I'm talking.
I know. I'm looking.
Anything you want, but something that gives us a little taste of the book as read to us from the author. See how I'm expanding on this to give you time.
You're hilarious. I know you are. You're doing a very good job. Okay, wait.
Are you okay with this request, first of all?
Yeah. Okay, so this is, I'm going to tell you, I have refused to do this on every podcast and every, so funny, so I've had 2 signings at different places. And I have made a rule each time. I'm like, I'm not reading anything. I've never read anything out loud before. I don't read out loud. Instagram account, I don't do. I know. So I'm cautiously asking. Okay. So I will, only because this is like, also I just need to start doing things that I'm like terrified of more often. So I will do this. And I'm sorry, and I feel like I'm not going to, because I do like this little poem, but I always feel like I'm going to mess it up, like I'm going to read it wrong. And I know I wrote it, but like I wrote it, I shouldn't be reading it. Anyway, it's called The Monster Called Opportunity. I've been hiding for a little while from the monster called Opportunity, because what if it doesn't eat me up? What if it doesn't have a taste for me? So today I set out to do just one scary thing, and it left me feeling quite delicious and perfectly seasoned for that monster called Opportunity.
Tell her what she's won. That was amazing. Come on. First of all, thank you for doing that. Not knowing that you've said no to other people. Not knowing you've said no to other people and you said yes to me makes me very happy. But I just love the sound of an author reading their book. The little pauses, the reflection, the tone, how you say the words, the pacing of how you say it. That's a totally different experience than maybe rereading that for the first time, going,
Right.
yeah. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for asking me to do that. I'm very. I just got that out of my system, and I can stop like nervous sweating right now because ever since the first time I've been like, oh no,
No,
he's gonna
do it. He's gonna do the thing.
So I appreciate that. I'm super happy that that I just that's the first time, and I just got it done. So I did my one scary thing today. So I appreciate it.
And aptly read, that is the scary thing. At the same time, you did the scary thing. Like, wow, that's really appropriate. I love it. So, Jodie, does this open the door for you to write more? Like, is this like your path now? Like, what's coming? My podcast is Living the Next Chapter, so I'm always asking, what is your next chapter and where are you heading as an author and as a writer? But is this something that's the door's open now and you're going to pursue this more?
Will 100% pursue it more.
Okay.
So the initial contract was a 1-book contract. So, that is that. So Clumsy Beauty is now out and it's out in the world and whatever. And now that I've gone through the process and I've continued writing, I never stopped writing. So, I have the material, to do, another one. And I'd also like to do other things, with writing. So 100% would, am definitely looking to do this again. I think that we're so like, we're not even 2 months after the release of this guy. So I haven't totally put thought into, pitching any new ideas of any kind yet. Yeah. Just because I want Clumsy Beauty to have, her time to shine for now. Yeah. But yes, I would love to do another book. Ultimately I would like to do, I'd kind of like to write a journal, like a journal to help other people maybe start writing that includes writing and stuff like that. I think that would be good because that's kind of my whole story is, like journal so that you don't go crazy is essentially what the writing was for me at in the beginning. So I would love if I can be creative as a career, I'm going to try to figure out how to do that. Cool. And maybe nobody else will want to do another book with me or what, who knows what will happen in terms of that. But, yes, I think that all the doors are opening for me creatively right now. And I hope that they stay open and I hope that I have the courage to walk through them because, I am like, oh, I think this is what I want to be doing. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
the courage is there. You read from your book on a podcast. So
I did
the thing. So that's great. I have one more question for you at the end here, Joe. It's great having you here. The reason I do ask if you write more is because I want you to come back selfishly. That's kind of the reason I'm asking. But before we go to my last question, as we wrap everything up, take us to the website again, take us to your Instagram, that kind of stuff. Let's talk all about that as we wrap up. And then I'm going to close off with another question at the end.
Okay. So the website is JK Kennedy, and the last name is Kennedy. So JK Kennedy writes, like writing with a pen, not the other one. Yeah. .com. Okay. And so is my Instagram handle. JK Kennedy writes is the Instagram handle, and I haven't done the people are like, get on TikTok, and I'm like, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I'm cut out for TikTok. I think I'm too old for that. But yeah, it's mainly just website and Instagram. And then I have I don't know anybody listening. I don't know if anybody's in Wisconsin or if it's anybody's in Denver. On December 6th, I have a signing at the Osthoff Resort. That's in Sheboygan, or I think it's actually in. Oh boy, what's the? I forget. Anyway, look up the Osthoff Resort. That's on December 6th. It's during the kickoff to their Christmas market. That's going to be super fun. I'll be there on that day, and then also December 13th, I'll be at Bierstadt Lager House in Denver, Colorado. On Friday the 13th of December from 6 to 8 doing a little signing and get together there. So if you happen to be in either of those places, I would love for you to come out and Hang.
Okay, you got to say the name of that place for December 13th again. That sounded fun. Like, just to say that name out loud.
Bierstadt.
Come on. That's
Bierstadt.
Bierstadt. I like it.
Yeah. So it's like this. So they do like very traditional lager beers.
Sounds yummy.
It's incredible. But before all of this, I was in beer sales for 10 years. Yeah. So I was a beer sales lady. So all of my friends in Denver for my entire beer career, it's all beer people that I know in Denver. So, Bill and Ashley are two friends of mine that own Bierstadt, and they've been kind enough to give me space in their tap room to invite some pals out for beers and books and good times. Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so my wrap-up question here for you at the end. I'm imagining a listener who wants to write poetry, who would love to talk to somebody who has written poetry, who continues to write poetry, but they're just looking for some ideas, some motivation, some accountability, maybe, to talk to a fellow writer who's writing poetry, and they just want to reach out to find somebody that they could talk to, just for encouragement, inspiration. Is that something that if somebody reached out to you, Jodie, and said, Jodie, I love what you do. I'm working on my own projects, but I just need somebody to maybe look at maybe some of my poetry to give me some advice, or can I just talk to you about the process of writing poetry? Would you ever be open to that if somebody wanted to talk to you as a fellow writer?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually have people reach out, not super frequently, but occasionally the people that are getting into writing will DM me, which is the other difficult thing, is because sometimes Instagram hides DMs. This is probably too much information for your question, but sometimes when you DM somebody, they never see it.
Yeah.
And I discovered like hundreds of messages from like 2 years ago, like somewhat recently. For some reason, anyway, yes, people have DM'd me, and I will read stuff, and I am not a great editor, and if I'm being completely honest, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I do love the creative process and chatting about it. So. Okay. Yes. And then also there's if you go to jkkennedywrites.com, if you go to the website, there's also, you can email me, through the website. So yeah, reach out. And, I've actually even thought about maybe starting like a broadcast channel on, Instagram, just to chat about that. Because I think that a lot of people are realizing that, their stories matter and their feelings matter. And they're looking for somewhere to put that creative energy, and they're going to start to write about it. So I love talking about that. So maybe that's something that I'll also look into doing in the future is, but yes, reach out. The shorter answer to this question is, yeah, okay, definitely reach out for sure.
Awesome. Because I think you have a lot to give. And if writing is more of your future, then more opportunities to work with fellow writers, maybe to coach some fellow writers, give inspiration. That could open the door for you to do this more, which is what Absolutely. We all want for you, because you're doing a great job at it. So,
oh, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so everyone, all information for Jodie in the show notes, jkkennedywrites.com. Great website. Beautiful cover to the book. Now you know the story behind the cover. You've heard a little bit from the author on the podcast, which is like a huge win. Everyone's celebrating for that. Jodie, again, thank you so much for doing this. Come back in the future as more projects come up, because I'd love to have you back.
I'd love to come back. Thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. Everyone, as always, in the show notes, go check it out and go let Jodie know that you heard her on the podcast. Jodie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for being here for the Living the Next Chapter podcast. So glad to have you as part of our family of listeners. There's a seat for you just here on Living the Next Chapter, and I'm so happy that you have listened to all the way to the end. Wow, you are now my new bestie. I want to let you know that I host 7 other podcasts on top of Living the Next Chapter. Yep, 8 total. One of them is called the How To Podcast series. If you are thinking, you know what, Dave, this podcast thing seems like a lot of fun, well, I'll give you a secret. It is. It's a great, amazing, fun time where you can get to meet great people, get your word out there, promote your book, promote what your coaching program, whatever you're doing. Podcasting is great. And if you want to learn how to do this, what you're hearing right now, head over to howtopodcast.ca and look up the How to Podcast series on YouTube, whatever app you're listening on. You'll find me there. And I'd love for you to come listen to how to do this. And if you're interested and have questions on how to podcast, reach out to me at howtopodcast.ca. Thank you for listening. Talk soon.